Shaktiji, you can unmute and start.
सबको नमस्कार। क्या जो है को देखा जा सकता है बिना इसे कोई अभ्यास बनाए? Can what is be watched without making it a practice? जो है या व्हाट इज, इसमें क्या क्या शामिल है? इसमें एक तो बाहर का जगत शामिल है, पेड़ पौधे, नदी, लोग, कमरे में रखी चीजें, तो क्या इस सब को देखा जा सकता है बिना शब्द को बीच में लाए, बिना विचार के हस्तक्षेप, विदाउट इंटरफियरेंस ऑफ थॉट, बाहर के जगत को? फिर हमारे भीतर, जिसे हम व्हाट इज कहें, जो है कहें, उसमें कॉन्शियसनेस है, जिसमें थॉट्स हैं, फीलिंग्स हैं, डर है, क्रोध है, किसी भी प्रकार की इमोशन है, भावना है। तो क्या इस सब को भी अपने भीतर देखा जा सकता है? जब हम थॉट्स को देखते हैं अपने भीतर, तो ऐसा लगता है जैसे जैसे ही देखना शुरू किया तो वहां थॉट नहीं होती, और फिर दूसरी थॉट आती है, उसके बाद वाली थॉट आती है, उनके बीच में जो स्पेस आता है, खाली जगह आती है, क्या उसको भी देखते रहा जा सकता है? और जो भी हमारे भीतर इमोशन आ रहा है, क्या उसे भी देखा जा सकता है? क्योंकि अगर वो देखा नहीं जा सकता, थॉट को नहीं देखा जा सकता या इमोशन को नहीं देखा जा सकता, तो एक स्थिति आती है। लेकिन अगर हम अपने साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट करते हैं, तो ये जो कृष्णमूर्ति का आमंत्रण है कि क्या जो है के साथ रहा जा सकता है, जो है को देखा जा सकता है। देखने का, साथ रहने का एक इम्प्लीकेशन ये भी है, दूर ना भागना, उससे एस्केप ना करना, पलायन ना करना। तो उदाहरण के लिए, अगर बोर्डम हो रही है, ऊब महसूस हो रही है, तो क्या उसके साथ भी ठहरा जा सकता है, उसको देखा जा सकता है? और अगर एस्केप हो रहा है, भागना हो रहा है, तो क्या उस एस्केप को भी वॉच किया जा सकता है? और साथ साथ क्या हम ये भी देख सकते हैं कि वो जो देखने वाली इकाई है, वॉच करने वाली जो एंटिटी है हमारे भीतर, क्या वो उससे अलग है जिसे वो वॉच कर रही है? अगर मैं थॉट को देख रहा हूं तो क्या ये मैं अलग है और वो थॉट अलग है, या वो मैं भी एक थॉट ही है? तो क्या थॉट अपने मूवमेंट को देख सकती है? और क्या थॉट को देखना अपने आप को देखने से अलग है, या एक ही बात है? जब भीतर देखा जा रहा है तो जो कुछ भी देखा जा रहा है उसकी पोटली ही ये मैं है। तो विचार को देखना क्या मैं को ही देखना नहीं है? तो ये सारे जो प्रश्न हैं, ये एक्सपेरिमेंट के, प्रयोग के प्रश्न हैं। जैसे हर्षद जी कहते हैं कि उन्होंने जब पढ़ा कृष्णमूर्ति को और उन्होंने जो थॉट है उसकी शुरुआत को देखने लगे, तो थॉट को देखना वो एक अपने आप में, हम ये आजमा के देख सकते हैं, इसका एक्सपेरिमेंट कर सकते हैं कि ये पॉसिबल भी है या नहीं। तो एक तो बाहर का जगत हो गया, एक भीतर का जगत हो गया, फिर जो हमारा एक्शन है, अगर कोई चीज में, एक किताब है उसे मैं ध्यान से यहां से वहां रख रहा हूं, तो क्या उस एक्शन को भी वॉच किया जा सकता है? इस वॉच करने में, इस देखने में अटेंशन, अवधान भी निहित है, इम्प्लाइड है। और अगर इनअटेंशन है तो उस अटेंशन न होने को भी क्या नोटिस किया जा सकता है, देखा जा सकता है? बिना इस सब को प्रैक्टिस बनाए, अभ्यास बनाए, क्योंकि जैसे ही हम अभ्यास बना लेते हैं, हम अपने आप से कहते हैं कि नहीं, देखते रहना जरूरी है, और फिर जब हम नहीं देखते हैं तो भीतर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पैदा होता है। जो भी है हमारे भीतर और बाहर, क्या उसको वॉच करना, उसके प्रति अवेयर होना, अटेंटिव होना, इज दैट पॉसिबल और नॉट? क्योंकि जैसे ही हम इस चीज को प्रैक्टिस बनाते हैं, इसके मैकेनिकल हो जाने की बहुत संभावना होती है। तो ये कुछ प्रश्न हैं जिनको हम अपने जीवन में देख सकते हैं, इनके साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट कर सकते हैं। कृष्णमूर्ति को जब हम पढ़ते हैं या उनका वीडियो देखते हैं, सुनते हैं, तो उस समय भी क्या हम उस सारी प्रक्रिया को देख सकते हैं? उनकी बात को सुनना, अपने भीतर जो प्रतिक्रिया उठ रही है उसकी अगर कोई रिएक्शन आ रहा है तो उसको भी देखना, और भीतर के जगत में देखना और सुनना एक ही गतिविधि। मैं अगर कहता हूं विचारों को देखा जा रहा है या विचारों को सुना जा रहा है, तो इससे एक ही उसका आशय निकलता है। तो ये जो वॉचिंग है, ऑब्जर्वेशन है, ये अगर है जीवन में, हो सकता है अगर, तो उससे क्या होता है? क्या उससे हमारा जो जीवन है उसके आचरण में, कंडक्ट में, हमारी जो हैबिट्स हैं, हमारा जो पैटर्न है, आदतें हैं, जो ढर्रा बना हुआ है, क्या उसमें इससे कोई फर्क पड़ता है या नहीं पड़ता है? ये सवाल भी हमें अपने आप से ही करना है। तो ये कुछ ऐसी चीजें हैं जो कृष्णमूर्ति को पढ़ के और प्रयोग धर्मिता की दृष्टि से ये मुझे महत्वपूर्ण लगती हैं। और क्या इस टेंशन को इस पल में हम जी सकते हैं? अब मैं चाहता हूं कि आप लोग इसमें जो भी कहना चाहें, हम सब लोग इसमें सहभागी हों। बीच में मुझे लगेगा तो मैं भी, आप चाहेंगे तो और बात करेंगे। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद। पारिक सर, आप बोलें इसमें आगे।
Okay, are you able to hear my voice?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you, Shaktiji. You have asked many good questions, and Krishna ji was also asking many questions. But I feel that are these questions make us look at our own mind without asking questions. Is it possible, like when Krishna ji says in his talk that our problems of psychological nature, it comes from thinking, and from thinking comes the sense of I or me, and then we try to do something to our thinking. If we try to fight with anger or jealousy like that, but this entity which is trying to fight with the problem like anger or fear, that itself is a product of thinking. And to see that this I or me is a product of thinking, to see that one needs freedom from thinking. So this is some kind of a paradox that everything what Krishnaji says may remain very confusing to most people if they try to understand Krishnamurti just by thinking, because thinking cannot see itself clearly. One needs a different dimension or a different instrument other than thinking to see thinking clearly. And that is the problem that most people I have seen, that they try to understand Krishnamurti just like they are understanding physics or history or some subject. But that kind of understanding, intellectual understanding, it doesn't help unless one really sits alone and with great attention, curiosity, to look inside, to watch how these thoughts are coming. And because that is what I did after reading Krishnamurti, he said that thought creates the thinker and the thinker tries to change thought. So there is a duality between thinker and thought. And Krishnaji said that this duality is the source from which all our psychological problems arise. So if a person wants to verify it, not just accept it, not to discuss it, but to verify within oneself. And how can one verify what Krishnamurti is saying? The only way we can verify is by sitting quietly. Initially, maybe one needs to do that. One needs a quiet atmosphere and a, and a silent curiosity required. And then when I tried to do that, actually my mind stopped. And first time I felt that there is some another dimension within us which is not thinking, which can look at thinking. So when a person really comes to that stage of looking without thinking, then one really feels that there is something new in one's life. And then it doesn't become a burden to look within. It's not with any motivation, but with a curiosity, just like children, little children, they are curious to look at a flower or a butterfly. Similarly, when a person becomes curious to look within oneself, looking at the thoughts, feelings, and then the mind begins to stop also. And a person, and it is really helping us in our daily life, not doing this as an escape from the daily life, but watching it in relationship also. When somebody says something unpleasant, if there is anger or some kind of feeling of hurt comes, to watch that also. And it requires some kind of ongoing, effortless observation of what is happening within oneself. If a person can do that, I think then one doesn't need to read anything. Krishnamurti teachings also one doesn't need, no need to discuss also, because one can see clearly within oneself. And this, a lot of dialogues, discussions are going on in many Krishnamurti circles on Facebook or WhatsApp. It is because I think people have not experimented within themselves. If they really see it, not understanding verbally, but non-verbally, when we see it, we really see the beauty which is around us, even in the outside world, like a flower or a tree or a cloud or a star or sunrise, sunset, everything becomes very new, fresh. One doesn't need to go also to any study center. One doesn't need to go and attend some workshop, pay a lot of money. One needs a curiosity to look inward, ability to be alone, to be silent, to be looking inward, and non-verbally. So this is the difficulty I feel, that when there is a lot of talking, asking questions, discussing without experimenting within oneself, then that kind of discussion will become more confusing, because the whole thing is not meant for verbal dialogues, discussion. It's true that if a person who is really free, and such a person like Krishnamurti or Buddha, when they speak, one has to listen very carefully, not keep on trying to understand, but listening and then experimenting. And that is what I did in my life. For 7 years, I had no dialogue, discussion, only reading a little bit of Krishnamurti, maybe one paragraph, closing the book, forgetting Krishnamurti, and looking at my own mind, what is happening. And that really began to change my life. And then this sense of newness, freshness, it came in my life. And then only I started going to listen to Krishnamurti. And beyond all that listening, understanding, there is something much more is there, which I felt in the presence of Krishnamurti. When first time I listened to Krishnamurti without any effort, and in that listening, I could listen the sounds coming from very far, dogs barking, children playing, and there is no effort to understand. So that is the real thing, when we don't make any effort, because that effort maker is this me who wants to understand. So as long as there is this me who wants to understand, it cannot understand. Only when there is a silence, curiosity, attention, energy, honesty, all these qualities are combining together to look non-verbally. Then then you will, when you listen to Krishnamurti, then you will say that what he says is true. It is very obvious, most of it. And when you don't agree with Krishnamurti, you can also say it without any fear, without any conflict, and you can say that Krishnamurti, I don't feel that what Krishnamurti says is correct, So a kind of clarity within oneself is required and then comes kind of authenticity. It's not that one becomes the authority, but a person speaks from his direct looking and not second-hand reading paragraphs of Krishnamurti and then trying to understand Krishnamurti. That many people are doing it even in Krishnamurti schools. They read a paragraph and then they try to understand what Krishnamurti is trying to say. But that is not, I feel, a right way of understanding Krishnamurti. To understand Krishnamurti means to see within oneself the essence of what he is saying. So I have said enough thing right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Parekh sir.
Yeah.
Dakshina Murthy sir, please unmute and say. Dakshina Murthy sir.
Yes, yes. Good evening to all. I hope I am audible.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, we have to understand what is this, what is. Krishnaji says, what is what you are now. He doesn't mean how tall you are, how short you are, how colorful you are, all those things, but he's talking about your psychological content. He's talking about your consciousness. That means what? If there is anger in my consciousness, then I am that. If there is jealousy in my consciousness, I am that. If there is fear in my consciousness, again I am that. So, he is talking about the psychological content of all human beings. Earlier, we were thinking differently. For example, you take an example of anger. When anger arises in me, I think I am different from anger. I am there and anger is there. And in fact, we say, I am angry. We never say, I am anger. There is a big difference there. So, when you understand deeply, the observer is the observed, which means I am anger, I am fear, I am jealousy, etc., and all that. Then I cannot do anything about it because I am that. Earlier, what I was doing, I was thinking that I will control my anger, I run away from my anger, I suppress my anger, all those things I was doing. That is all waste of energy. But when I am anger, I cannot do anything about it, so I simply watch it. So the energy that is wasted in those activities of running away from it will be available to us. So actually, if you go a little more deeply, the psychological disorder called anger is a living thing. It is a crystallized energy. And like all living things, the anger also does not want to die. It wants to live as long as possible. That is the reason why we are unable to get rid of any of these psychological reactions, because we are trying to interfere with them. We are never observing them without interference. So what happens if I am able to look at that psychological disorder called anger in a state of attention? In attention, as Krishnaji says, there is a summation of energy, because you are putting all your energy in that act of attention. And so the energy of attention and the energy of disorder called anger are facing each other. Because you are in attention, you are not actually interfering with that disorder called anger. And what is happening is, if the energy of anger is higher than the energy of attention, then the person will become go into a state of inattention, and the energy of anger takes over. we see it a number of times. The person will go into a rage, he will go resort to physical violence. But if the energy of attention is higher than the energy of anger, the anger cannot do anything. But with a higher energy in a state of attention, the state of attention, there is no attender, the person who is attending, the self is absent there. In that state of attention, only energy is there, and it is not interfering with the activity of the disorder called anger. Then what happens? The psychological disorder called anger is able to reveal its full nature, flower and wither away. When that happens, you will never get angry again. This we can do as an experiment. As Harshadji were telling, most of these things one has to try for oneself in his day-to-day living. Whenever anger is arising in you, can you look at that anger in a state of attention? That's exactly what is required in your day-to-day life. When you're dealing with your wife or your children, all these things, we have to experiment and test it out. But we are not doing that. That is the problem. So what is definitely there, and observation of what is, we should be able to do without the observer. Without the observer means in a state of attention. Are we doing that? That is the first step. Then only it is possible to observe what is without interfering with what is. And also, what is changing? Every second it is changing. So you will not fall into a system or into a practice, but moment to moment you have to be aware. You should be in a state of choiceless awareness. Then only it is possible to observe what is, and awareness is not a practice. You can never practice awareness or attention. So this is what I thought I should share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shaktiji, would you please say something at this juncture? I feel it is important to listen.
Yeah.
Please.
This watching what is not possible if I have not understood this pursuit of pleasure. Because that is a state of running away into some imagination or anticipation. So that is something which saps the energy to be able to watch what is. Also, when nothing is happening, there is no strong feeling, no emotion, nothing, still can the observation happen? That is also one question one can ask oneself. For example, I wake up at night and there is nothing to do, or the sleep is broken. In that moment, can there be observation of whatever it is? So these questions, if they are held in our consciousness, we don't need to practice them. Once we understand the significance of not being unaware, in a non-watching mode, then it is something from within and not to ask, can it happen all the time? The significant question is, can it happen in this moment? Thank you, sir.
Parekh sir, may I request you to say something? Please.
I have said whatever I
You
need to say. Everybody is speaking. Dakshina Murthy ji has really said very well that this
that I want.
attention is the energy, a kind of a frictionless energy, because energy can also come due to conflict. Anger is a dissipating energy, but attention is a healing energy. So when there is a attention, anger doesn't flower, doesn't come. So our difficulty is not thinking, I feel, because sometimes after reading Krishnamurti ji, people say that this thinking is bothering me. It is not thinking. We need thinking in our daily life. But what is lacking is this attention, energy, awareness, intelligence, whatever, Krishna, a new dimension. When that new dimension awareness comes, then thinking can move beautifully. It can create something beautiful out of thinking. So, but without that awareness or attention, thinking can multiply and it can go on creating anger, fear, jealousy, loneliness. All this psychological problem comes because of conflict within oneself, conflict between what is and what should be. Like I have anger and I want to be free from anger, or one wants some kind of an ideal, not actual. What? So this actuality is more important than the ideal of non-violence or something. So looking at what is as it is without trying to change it, that requires this kind of a different state where there is no escape. Otherwise, as Shaktiji said, that we will escape into some pleasure, watching films, talking with friends, and something trying to escape from our own self. So when we don't escape, we can really look. Then we can also watch films and we can listen to music, or we can do whatever people are doing, we can do, but with this attention or energy, then there is no problem. So this is what I have to say. I think Pradeep ji is ready to say. Thank you.
Pradeep ji, Harshad wanted to
Yes.
listen you. So
Oh.
please go ahead. This is
Good
special
evening,
request.
friends. Good evening.
Mm.
So I will tell you what happened to me when I first read about this topic. Interesting topic, very interesting. It is something like a condensed teaching, a condensed form, condensed course on teaching, his teachings, Krishnamurti's teachings. It's so many things have been clubbed in this. At that moment, everything has to be seen differently. So what happened to me, because the topic is, can what is be washed without practice? That was the topic given by Shaktiji. For me, practice means something which you repeatedly do. Then only it can be practiced. That called, I have understood practice that way. So can it be practiced? That is one thing. Then what is seeing and what is watching? You see, seeing is a sort of very casual response of senses. casually when you are just moving around. So that sense seeing happens. In watching, different views are there. Watching, you give little more time to what is watched at. You see, although JK has said, in watching, there is no watcher. Interesting. So this is, and certain questions came to me while listening to different speakers. When Shaktiji was talking about one interesting thing is Bahar ka jagat or Andar ka jagat. So here also, because naturally, when the topic is given, it is all in words, different words, naturally, words. So word meaning becomes important. So, and all the time we are looking for the entity. You see, प्रश्नकर्ता जो है, प्रश्नकर्ता की स्थिति क्या है? What is the state of the questioner who has put so many questions ever? Because everything is related to why it has become important: awareness, choiceless awareness, watching, seeing deeply, going inside. Why? It is definitely the inside, somewhere it is for the benefit of human beings, humanity, a person, and the society, both. So this, whether this person, whether seeing thought, as it has been said recently and rightly so, if you see thoughts, if you are seeing thought, then thought disappear. So whether while seeing, whether someone is seeing, because thought stops, and we understand the language of thoughts only, most of the time, understand it. You may call, later on, you may use non-verbal or verbal, whatever, but at that time, I have all the things in my mind, verbal as well as non-verbal. So that was one thing, Bahar ka jagat or Antar ka jagat. So for my first fragmentation is already there. Then दूसरा वो मेरे दिमाग में वही आया कि जब हम प्रश्नकर्ता की स्थिति क्या है? Is he having some prashna right now? No. He has knowledge about what someone said at different times, and that became knowledge to me. And I am imagining a situation whether all those things which are supposed to be obstructing my experience, my life with life, obstructing seeing life, or rather living life, how those can be avoided, isn't it? Most of the discussions are around through words, about words, in words. So that was another thing. The watching, definitely thought stops. So whether thought can be simultaneously watched, because watched, you see, thought stops. So these are the things. It means it is all, it's few seconds, fraction of a second after. So it is the aftermath. Everybody knows what I was thinking, or whether there was anger in me. At that time, when you are angered, are you simultaneously or aware of that I am anger? Again, I comes in between. So whether that time afterwards, you can say you are at that time anger only, energy of anger afterwards. But what happened to the person who is dragged to some anger? What is his state when anger is there? So these things, only afterwards you can see what are the repercussions, what has happened because of that anger, what has happened in the house because of that violence, what has happened in the war. That is all after again thinking or seeing and thinking. This is what is happening to me when I go through these words. Attention. Now another is out. I couldn't understand properly when Dakshina Murthy was, I think at that time, attention, your only attention, only energy. You see, again, the same question comes back again and again, whether energy as me or energy, pure energy, summation of energy, what he was talking about, there for what? Energy, energy, only for energy, only order, only cosmic order, only energy. Then what relation it has to a human being? Everything he said throughout, unless until everybody is awakened, individual and collective, all together, everything through individual to collective and all that. Ultimately, it relates to the human being. So these are the questions, because when we put questions, when we discuss those things, a number of words come and we start giving meaning as per our understanding to those words. So each one of us gets trapped. Not trap may not be the word for certain awakened people, but we are in the words. So this has to be seen by me. I'll be happy if certain of these things will be will be talked about in this, all my these innocent questions. Thank you very much. Taken a lot of time. Thank you.
Thanks, Pradeep ji. Now I guarantee you will watch, you will listen, and do everything. Waghmare is going to speak now. Please. Be careful.
Thank you, everybody. Are you able to listen, hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. In today's topic, I think everybody has talked about the various aspects, and they have given right justice to the subject. That's what I feel. As per me, every man sees what is. Every man sees what is. And this is natural process, no question of practice. Yes, what is will be seen by every individual according to his working on self-knowing and freedom from self-knowing. Right now, Pradeep ji has also said about the state of being of a person. Dakshina Murthy has also said similar things. And Harshad sir has also said about the practice. I'm sorry, about how much you go for the experimentation. So I'm using the word here as per his working or self-knowing, and freedom from self-knowing, or you may say it as freedom from self. In case of ordinary man, he will see or watch what is as per his state of mind. That is to say, if he is absent-minded, he will see accordingly or watch accordingly, even we can say. Similar is the case with man who is absorbed in thought, or he is unaware, or he is not alert, or he is not intelligent, or he is not attentive, etc. So mainly it depends on the state of being of a person. Now if we talk of JK teachings, if a man wants to go beyond thought, following or working on JK teachings or experimentation on JK's teachings, then he has to go deep and do self-knowing. so that he can be free of thoughts. Similar things have come up in today's other speakers speaking. If he does so, then his watching will expand and may lead to insight into what is truth and wisdom, and ultimately awakening of intelligence. So, what is the totality of actuality or reality available to a man in a particular given moment of time. So, in a particular given moment of time, whatever is available to him or whatever is existing or simultaneously, that is the what is, first of all. You have to understand. All the polarities existing simultaneously in that time. All the polarities. It is also interesting to note that after knowing truth of a moment, also a man can take action as per his capability, capacity, resources, power of position, etc. Afterwards comes the question of action. So whatever is his resources, according to that only he can take action. In case of psychological matters, the action is automatic and immediate. Now, to support, not to support, rather, I'm using the wrong word. Interesting thing is JK, in case of JK teachings, we find that there was a questioner has come to him, and he was talking to him about what is. So what he says, JK, if you see what is, then you see the universe. So it is not the question of inner world or outer world or whatever is available. If you see the what is, then you see the universe. And denying what is the origin of conflict. The beauty of the universe is in what is, and to live with what is without effort is virtue. Questioner. The what is also includes confusion, violence, every form of human aberration. To live with that is what you call virtue. But isn't it carelessness and insanity? Perfection doesn't consist simply in dropping off all ideals. Life itself demands that I live it beautifully, like the eagle in the sky. To live the miracle of life with anything less than that beauty is unacceptable. JK, then live it. Questioner, I can't and I don't. JK, if you can't, then live in confusion. Don't battle with it. Knowing the whole misery of it, live with it. That is what is. And to live with it without conflict frees us from it. The way you perceive is what you are. Rightness is in purely looking, which is attention without the distortion of measure and idea. You came to inquire how to live beautifully with love. To look without distortion is love, and the action of that perception is the action of virtue. That clarity of perception will act all the time in living. All the time in living means whatever the clarity is there, it will act all the time in living. So there is no question of practice. That is living like an eagle in the sky. That is living beauty and living love. Also, at some other places, he has said about the other thing, like you see what the intelligence is, which is the outcome of having an insight into the reality of what is. And the observation of that is wisdom, and the perception of it is truth. So you have to have, when you work on yourself or you work on it, you start getting insight into what is. Earlier, the what is was only based up to your intellectual level. You can see as per your past working and your conditioning, etc. But now, as soon as you become free, your energy starts becoming free. What Dakshina Murthy is saying, in other words, the energy, free energy, when it is available to you, then you will start getting insights. Harshad sir used the word other dimension. I am using the word free energy. That free energy will give you the insight. And insight and the perception of that is truth. Truth and the daughter is the wisdom. And the intelligence is the daughter of wisdom. I have seen that. Now I am asking myself, he has seen the truth now. Huh? And then he is asking myself, what is the action of that intelligence in relationship? In relationship, has it any image? In my mind, building an image about you are, who live in the same house as I do. You may nag me, bully me, threaten me, dominate me, give me sexual pleasure, and so on. Does the mind build images? This is the action of that. So these are the things which Krishnamurti has talked. So basically, in my views, it is a totality. As soon as you start working on yourself or experimenting on yourself, you start getting free energy, and then that free energy works like an intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Waghmare. No words to express gratitude. Still, if you wanted to say anything, you will be given another chance. Adeen will ask something to you. You have to answer it. Please be prepared.
Okay.
See the totality. Adeen sir.
Uh,
Adeen sir.
Yeah. So the topic of today has to do with, can we observe what is, or what is the state of mind that observes what is? So for me, basically, the word what is and awareness, they are the same. So for example, in the medical field, to know what is, you need maybe a CT scan or some test has to be done. And using that CT scan, you can see what is in the body. So what is and perception is the same. It is not something different. What is and awareness is the same. So we can theoretically talk about what is, but ultimately it has to do with awareness and perception. So without you seeing it, how will you know it? Right? It will not be uh, true for you. You will not know it. So, and the question of whether awareness is something, I think Shaktiji also brought it up. Awareness is something natural. So it is not something which is cultivated. Uh, you have your natural body awareness. If you step on a thorn, you don't need to talk about awareness. What is awareness? You directly know it. I mean, there is that natural awareness which tells you something has gone in your foot or something. So it is immediate, it is natural, it is something you're born with. So it is always there, it is there. But then what is unawareness? Or we try to explore what is, or we try to find the truth of something by using the intellect, by using thoughts, words. And ultimately, if we believe that the thought is truth or some words are truth, then we get caught in it. So that's what the paths do, or even ideologies or religion or whatever. So if you believe in those words and you believe that the word is the truth, then you believe that. And that is basically what I consider to be unawareness. Believing that thought is truth, ideas are truth, opinions are truth, is unawareness. And yeah, so that also creates the ego. So if you believe in one particular religious book, your identity becomes that. If you believe in the Bible, your identity becomes Christian. So the identity and thought is not different. The thinker and the thought in that way is not different. If you believe that thought is to be real, true, then the thinker is created. And you are caught in path, you're caught in time, you're caught in basically the will. And will is something, is the will something natural or unnatural? Is the thinker something natural or unnatural? Awareness as is definitely something which is natural, which is you're born with. It is part of nature. But is thought natural? Is thinker natural? Is all these paths which are given from outside natural? I feel that when we are born, we are not born with an ego. That is my feeling. But later there are people around us who believe that certain opinions are true, are the truth, certain words are true, and we accept that. And when we accept that thought is truth, then the thinker is born. Otherwise, in natural awareness, thought might come, but we are not exercising effort or will in it. So there is awareness of it naturally. So one is effort, will, path, time, trying to do something, and the other is effortless, not doing anything, natural, or happening, or doing. So in one there is a doer, in the other there is no doer, it's just a happening. So awareness is a happening, it cannot be practiced, it is not conditioned, and that is the same as what is. So I feel that is where probably if we believe in thought, then there is no awareness. If we believe in it, it's like we are absorbed by it and then there is no awareness in it. But if we are living in awareness and we know that thought is not the truth, living is not a thought, it is a living is a moment of awareness, perception, sensitivity, um, and this question of division also. So I think naturally we feel a connection that there is no sense of division. Otherwise, we will not, you know, even listen to another person. Or so naturally, this awareness, when we have something natural, we feel connected to another person or to something else, sense of non-division. So that is something very natural. But it is the opinions, the thoughts, the thinker, the will, the effort, um, which create the thinker. Otherwise, awareness is moment to moment and it's a happening, I would say. It's not something cultivated as it is natural. Just like growing older is natural. It's not nothing to do with your will. Growing of your nails is natural. It's you cannot decide it should stop, it shouldn't grow. It's going to grow, have its own movement, which is natural. So similarly, I feel awareness is something natural. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Yes.
Thank you very much, Adeen. Harshad sir, do you want to say anything, sir, at this juncture?
Yes, I want to say that
Yes.
this awareness, Adin said, is natural. It is not natural. It is because there is no awareness of what is happening within our mind that we get caught into words and ideas and feelings and conflicts and all that. So awareness is a real intelligence which can see clearly what is happening to the body, to the mind. It is like being in an empty room and the door is open, your eyes are open, and if somebody enters through the door, you know that somebody has come. So, similarly, this awareness is like a emptiness. And if a thought comes, one sees that a thought has come. It's just like when in the morning, when I am brushing my teeth, some song comes because the mind is silent, and the moment this song comes, and I'm not trying to remember that song, it comes by itself. So awareness is to see what is coming. That song is what is, or anger is what is. And Adeen said awareness is what is. No, I don't agree with that. If then there is anger, that anger is not awareness. Anger is what is, and to see that anger is something else than anger. And it acts on the anger. So, in the words of Krishnamurti, perception is the action which dissolves all the problems of psychological nature. So, and I want to say that there is an inner world and there is an outer world. If there is no clarity within our mind, if there are lots of conflict in my mind, then it will express in the conflict with other people. And a slight thing will create very big problem. Somebody says something and you react. But when there is awareness, you don't react. You don't create a problem out of small thing when there is awareness. So that is the beauty of this awareness, which can see what is as it is and doesn't interfere, don't create complications in our life. So awareness is the real intelligence, and Krishnamurti's teachings are about the awakening of this intelligence, which can see thoughts, feelings, even it can see the tree without thinking. And then you see the real beauty of a tree or a flower. But we get lost into many thoughts, conflicts. So we don't see if there's a child smiling beautifully, but we are occupied. We don't see the beauty of the smile of a child, you know. So we lose a lot if we have no awareness, as Krishnamurti says, then you are like a blind man if there is no awareness. You are like a blind man in the beautiful world around you. You know. So awareness is something extraordinary, intelligence which can see things clearly, everything, and doesn't create a problem. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Harshad sir. Shaktiji, do you want to say something at this juncture?
नहीं, मैं प्रसाद जी को सुन ले फिर.
सुनने के बाद तो प्रसाद लेने के बाद क्या कथा में बच जाएगा? प्रसाद जी.
Sir, first let me congratulate you on your new coat. It is looking beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. But I have to take sleeping pill because you have made me wide awake and I have to listen Waghmare a number of times to sleep. Please go ahead.
Sir, Krishnaji said, there is no interpreter for me after I am gone. It is only my books and my videos and all those things. no other person can interpret me. Something like that he said. And I understand the significance of that statement because we are 10 or 15 people and we have 15 views in the matter. And another big thing is there are 1 crore of people at Kumbh Mela today. And we are 15 people. How come we are so few? How come there are so many? See, I mean, does it mean that we are the only fellows who are kind of in search of truth or whatever? So anyway, that is a different matter. But awareness is twofold. That is quite evident. It is awareness of your inner world and awareness of the outer world. But what Mr. Adeen has said has kept me thinking. He said, awareness and what is are the same. Of course, Parekh Sahab has clarified it that they are two different things and you can't confuse them. But if there is a snake in your room, you are not aware of it. Let us say, if you are not aware of it, but it is still there, it is not there so far as you are concerned because you are not aware of it, but it is still there. So do we say it is what is, it is part of what is, or do we do not say it is part of what is? I mean, this is a doubt in my mind. I don't know the answer. Similarly, like the snake, we want to be aware of our inner world. But there are so many things in our inner world about which we are not aware, really speaking. They are there. I have envy of Sushilji. But I have envy, but I am not aware of it. I have anger about him because he is not allowing me to talk properly. But I am not aware of it. So, we are only going by some broad categories like envy, anger, jealousy, ambition, power mongering, broad categories. But there are so many subtle things in ourselves about which possibly we are not aware. So many things, subtle things, not these broad categories. Broad categories we are all aware. But there are so many subtle things. I have a lustful eye on my neighbor's wife. I am not properly aware of it. So many things like that. I mean, we need not have to expatiate and elaborate. So, but one thing is certain, sir. As Shakti Kumar ji has raised that point, is it a practice? Is awareness is it a practice? Of course, Krishna ji has clarified it can never be a practice. And he has also said, you want to be aware always, 24 hours, or your waking time? All your waking time you want to be aware? Is it possible? He himself said it is not possible. In a second, you can be aware and get an insight about yourself. So, it can never be a practice. On that, I think we are all agreed. Because he himself has clarified it in so many words. So, what is the significance of this awareness and all that? That is because we are all born into some background, some culture, some religion. And we are all caught in our own conditioning, that particular conditioning into which we are born. We can't escape it. So awareness is the only instrument through which we can free ourselves from that conditioning. And my belief is that the 1 crore people who have assembled at Kumbh Mela, they are caught in that conditioning. They are not even aware of it. They deny it and they condemn anybody who questions that. So, awareness is the only instrument for gaining some freedom. And it is not a practice. It is not so difficult, you know. Let us not make it so very, such a, by a continuous exercise. Krishnaji has said there is no path to truth. That is his basic stand. This practice of awareness, it becomes a kind of practice, it becomes a path. It is not a path. You cannot practice awareness and make it a path. It is something which is there. Awareness is there. The only thing is we must shed so much of our background once we realize it. Because he said freedom is the first step, not the last step. You have that freedom and then you have this awareness. First, you have free your baggage. That we are not willing. Even after so many exposures to Krishnaji and all that, we all carry our own baggage and we want to exercise this awareness. Actually, it is not an exercise of awareness. It is being aware, that's all. Being aware of the outer world, the colors, the beauty of the universe, the trees, everything. And there comes the child's face and everybody's face, all these things. And then we have awareness of the inside, our own inside. But there, we are not really trying to be aware of our inside. Inside is, there's a lot of subtle things. We are only thinking of broad categories. Thank you, sir. That's all.
Shaktiji, you wanted to say?
Yes, sir.
Or I must call somebody else?
No, I will say a few things. I think
Then we'll
Adeen,
end it.
yeah,
Please.
Adeen meant, I feel that watching what is or being with what is same as awareness. That is what I feel he meant. And the second thing is that, you see, if I have any motive in watching, in observation, in being aware, then that motive will remain there in the background as a subtle thought. कि इसका ये तो परिणाम आया नहीं, you know. So that it is important to experiment freely without adding any specific motive to it, that thoughts will stop or insight will happen. They may or may not happen. We don't know. But is it possible to experiment with this watching, with this observation, with this awareness in a free way? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Modak, please end it now. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.